All right, welcome back. What's up? Let's make this easier than it looks. In the last video, we learned how to draw the structure of the ear, but structure alone can still look flat. So we're gonna jump right into this. We're gonna get into shading. So shading is what turns a drawing into something believable. Today we're going to take a simple ear drawing and turn it into a realistic one using shading, light, and patience. And I'm curious, do you struggle more with drawing shapes or with shading them? Let me know in the comments. Shading is what turns drawings into realism. Before shading anything, the structure has to make sense. Think of the ear as a series of folds, almost like fabric made of cartilage. And let's go over these key forms real quick. There's the hexal, the antihexal, the concha, the tragus. But we're going to scrap all that. All you need to know is the planes of the ear so we can create that realistic form. So when you understand the folds, the shadows start to explain themselves. Shadows explain structure. Now let me ask one question. Where is the light coming from? We need to know this because, when you're shading anything, you need to know what direction the light is coming from. And if it's coming from above the ear, then it's going to be a light on the rim, sometimes all the way around, which means the shadows will be inside here. And this will help you decide, what is visible and what isn't visible. And especially inside here, there's going to be a lot of shading and shadow. And especially in the inner ear, it's usually really dark because, that's inside your ear. So, and then you got where the earlobe is. There might be a shadow right here underneath. Now, what we're going to do is redraw all the forms of the ear. It's more of a refresher. So let's go ahead and get started here. I'm going to take this away and we are going to start drawing. And you can use any, you can use black or blue or whatever dark pen or pencil. And we're going to put this on pen pressure just so I don't draw real hard right from the start. There we go. Okay, now remember the ear has a shape like this. The hook, bring that all the way around like this. And remember we have the sideways Y, the curve Y. So we're going to have this part right here. And you remember the inside of the inside of the Y is going to be going around inside like this. And the outside is going to be like right here. And it's going to overlap the hook and come down like that. We also have the little bump right here. And that's going to come around here. Remember there's a slope all right here. And this inner line right here, that's where we'll put a shadow. So there's shading over here. and shading right here, here, and here. You got the earlobe, and that's going to be right here. All the structure here. We're going to go to the next step, which is the shading. What we're going to do is we're going to be layering tones slowly. Make sure we know where the light source is coming from. It's going to be coming from maybe this direction, typically. And now we can do some gradual values. Let me show you what I mean by gradual values. Let's say you have this, and it goes from light to dark. So if I go right here, this is very light. Now, if I want to get darker, I go over those lines even more. Go a little bit darker. The lines are closer together. And if I really want to get dark, I just gradually put more pressure, and it becomes darker. You either put more pressure or you have closer lines. And this is how you get from light to dark. And there's different shading methods, but I'm just showing you how it gradually progresses. So on the ear, we're going to put some values in here. We're going to start with the largest shadows, the shadow shapes first. And because you don't want to chase tiny details yet. You just want big shapes to create structure. Details only refine it. There's going to be shadows underneath here. Maybe above right here. And we know there's going to be a shadow right here. And there should be a little bit of shading right here because this slides underneath. And we know this is inside, so we're going to do a light shade right here. And we got underneath the ear, we know there's going to be like a shadow, probably right underneath right here. And we can even bring it around here because the light is coming from this way. Just remember that. So there may be some shadow around this part. Now it's time to create depth. This means the darkest values, the midtones, the reflected light. We're going to try to do all that. The midtone, what we got to do, I'm going to lightly go over this. I'm going very light. And I'm just getting this mid-tone. The mid-tone is just the, in this case, just the skin tone. Now I'm going to go in here and do a darker shade right here. And we're going from here to maybe here or somewhere around this part right here. But the closer we get to where the rim is, it's going to be much more darker. And remember, these are planes. So there's going to be a slight shade right here, shade right there, and I'm going to make this a little dark. And we have a lighter shade right here. Remember, this is coming out on top of the edge right here, the edge of the ear. So it's going to be light right in this area. Let's go ahead and darken this just a little bit because it dips right here. So we're going to start dark and then gradually build up right there. Now, underneath here, we're going to start kind of dark, gradually get a little bit lighter. We can make some of this darker right here. And you know, still light, still kind of light. And over here, since the light is coming down, this right here, or all these areas, they're going to be very light because the light's coming from this direction. It's going to be slightly shaded. And down here, there should be a shadow casted right here where the little bump is right here. And then it should be dark, light. And you can see that. And underneath the other part of the ear at the bottom, we need to make this a little dark. And as we get near the top, it starts to get lighter. And this is going to be kind of sharp. There's no gradual change because it's just one shade. And the reason why it's one shade is because it's one of the darkest areas. And it doesn't progress unless there's some kind of curve or something, like right here. So now that we got that, it looks like a realistic ear. Shadows are usually darker than beginners think. Make sure to not be afraid to make something dark if it needs to be dark. The next stage is basically to smooth all this out. You can start going into those details that we were talking about earlier. We can start to, because now we have a foundation, and now we can do some smoothing out if we want to, if we don't want to keep this style. We can use a soft brush and we can lower the opacity, maybe to 60, 75%, whatever you feel comfortable with, so that you don't, whatever brush you use, there isn't a lot of flow. If you're using Photoshop, just a soft brush that you can use and start going in. And you can turn the pen pressure off because you're using opacity instead. So, and I recommend taking your time. And if the brush is too soft and it's not fitting the style that you're looking for, you can always harden the brush. You can go in and adjust the hardness So this is a little more what you're looking for. But you know where the darks and lights are. That's all you need to worry about. I'm gonna turn the opacity down a little bit more. And we can go in here. See, this part is starting to come out. And there's many custom brushes that you can use to help you in this style that you're looking for. Remember, there's still a Y here, so you just do that. I'm gonna harden this a little bit more. And the mid-tones should be like a gray tone. That's what I would start with. So that when you start doing the light, the actual light, the lightest areas are going to be white. But you want the ear itself to be a mid-tone. And this is when you're using any color or anything. All right, so we got this right here. And you see it's gray. I'm gonna adjust the brush size so I can get the small areas. And I'm just gradually doing this, and I'm just taking my time. And remember, the ear is organic and it rounds off, so you're gonna have a gradual progression just around the rim a little bit. And let's remember, there's light coming from above, so you're gonna have some areas like this. And remember the opacity. And then you got some light right there, because this is coming out of the ear, this part. And I'm just pulling that out, and then light areas out here. So it's looking pretty good. And now you know how to structure the ear and how to actually shade the ear, because we know the structure. And you can always go back in and do some darker shades if you need to. There's some places where I can make it darker and it can really look like it's coming out at you. I have this gray, and it's not as dark as I want it to be in certain areas. So now we're gonna go in those areas and start doing that. And look at that. Now, see, now it's starting to come out. And I'm just taking my time. That's why I have the opacity down, because it it helps me gradually build up where I need to be. And you see, that's where the fold is. It thins out right here. So what I'm gonna do is get some of that light and go over this little part. There we go. And then dark area right there. There's an indent right there. And we're gonna go darker for this area. There's a shadow right here of that little nub or right there. And then you got this over here. And as you can see, it's looking more real. So I think we're finished here. Remember, realism doesn't come from rushing. It comes from observation. Small adjustments over time build convincing forms. Also, the ear is a small part of the face, but mastering small things builds confidence for larger ones. Earlier, I asked whether drawing shapes or shading is harder for you. Now that you've seen the whole process, which part still feels more difficult? And in the next video, we'll take the same ear and add color, which introduces an entirely new layer of complexity. And if tutorials like this help you understand drawing a little better, consider subscribing. I post more breakdowns of facial features and drawing techniques.